bust. I do not understand the current momentum behind Mac Jones. There is no proof that Nick Saban develops NFL quarterbacks. Tua was the golden child. Tua, I was assured, was different. Tua, I was told, is one of the great all-time high school quarterbacks. The Miami Dolphins benched him twice last year, and 3 of his starts he completed under 100 yards passing. Also rumors they want Deshaun Watson. That tells you not only are they disappointed in the games Tua's played, they don't like what they see at practice. Mac Jones gets 5 things at Alabama he will not get in the NFL. He throws to wide open receivers. Look how often the receiver is wide open. He's behind an offensive line that rarely allows him to get even rushed. He always has an elite run game. He always plays with a lead. And because his coach is Nick Saban, he always goes into a better game with a better scheme, a better game plan, better in-game adjustments. That is not the way it works in the NFL. You're always rushed. Your receivers are rarely open. Good luck if you have a running game over 2 or 3 straight years. Eventually the back wears down or wears himself out. You almost never have the best coach in the league. Playing with a lead? Give me a break. One quarterback's played with a lead the last 20 years, Brady. That's it. I mean, you're playing from behind all the time in the teeth of a pass rush. I saw Mike Tannenbaum, former GM, came out yesterday. He has Trevor Lawrence, number 1, Zach Wilson, 2, and Mac Jones, number 3. I can't discuss that. I don't even want to go there. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm not anti-Mac Jones. But there's a reason these Alabama guys don't work in the NFL. Because you don't face a real world at Alabama. You always have a lead, and you always have a great run game. And your receiver, look at all these videos I'm showing you. Everybody's wide open by 15 yards. DeAndre Hopkins doesn't get that open in the NFL. Randy Moss wasn't that open in the NFL. Calvin Johnson wasn't that open in the NFL. Every Alabama wide receiver is wide open. You have the better coach, the lead, the better O-line. You never get rushed. There's a reason where most star quarterbacks in the NFL didn't go to great football powers. Ben Roethlisberger, Miami of Ohio. Aaron Rodgers, Cal. Phillip Rivers, NC State. Russell Wilson, NC State, benched, had to transfer. He had to go to Wisconsin because the coach didn't like him. Tom Brady didn't start at Michigan. There's a reason why Matt Ryan, Boston College. Dak Prescott, Mississippi State. There's a reason most NFL quarterbacks don't come from traditional powers, because you get really comfortable at traditional powers. It's not an NFL life. It's why trust fund kids have a lot of issues. They grow up with BMWs and horses and polo and country clubs. That's not the real world. And when they get a little strain, chaos, or pushback in their life, they don't know what to do. Do you know 92% of millionaires in America are from middle-class families or below? Why? Because they've had to fight for the last piece of food at dinner. They're like kids who have to deal with like life stuff, like getting yelled at and getting grounded and not having lunch money. And they're like 92% used to. Now, maybe because of tech it's changed. Most millionaires come from humble beginnings because they're ready for the struggle. There's a reason the NFL isn't just filled with Alabama and Ohio State quarterbacks. That's not a real life. Mac Jones is, yesterday I saw where DeVonta Smith, the star receiver, chose Mac Jones over Tua. People were tanking for Tua. That was a term. You know there's going to be a bust in this first round, right? At quarterback. You know this to be true. I don't get it. I have heard Charlie Weiss and Mike Tannenbaum and DeVonta Smith, and this guy is great. Athletically, he is a 1978 quarterback. He was a 3-star athlete. His arm is good, not special. Where's the it? I mean, God, folks, anybody that's quarterbacking now, Nick Saban mostly has recruited quarterbacks that don't get in the way of his defense in coaching. My buddy Jim McElwain, who I lived next to in college, told me, Nick said, listen, just don't lose games for us. Lane Kiffin will tell you that. Don't get too clever. Don't lose games for us. Coaching and defense will win the SEC. I don't know. I don't see it. All right, you Baker Mayfield fans, you thought you hated me before the next segment. Mayfield or the field? I know, Joy. Next.
You got to keep that close to the vest. If me and you are cool and we can put on the straight face and say, this is how you're supposed to do media, this is how it's supposed to look, and we keep it together and it never leaks out, then you can maintain that. Right? We can maintain that because we're on the same page. Right. But if you get people coming out saying, oh, the way Colin is doing, look at the way LeVar is doing. Oh, Joy, what's Joy doing? Like, if people start calling it out, then you start to bring the focal point onto it. So what you're doing right now is you're probably having some people sitting in their office who have you on right now on their television screen, and they're like, why did you pick LeVar Arrington to be the one to talk about this topic? Because he doesn't care. He's unconscious about telling people's business, and I'm going to do it. Right here in studio live, and I enjoy doing it.
I've said this before. I think the greater point you said early. I was thinking, it was so random. I was thinking about this driving to work today, that in the history of Nick Saban in the SEC, I think there's 2 or 3 times he's met his equal. I thought Chris Peterson at Washington brought a marginally talented team to the Final Four and actually gave him a game with no players. Chris Peterson could coach. He retired.
Can coach.
Urban Meyer could coach. He retired. And Dabo Swinney. Nick almost always. I mean, even Belichick has Sundays where you're like, oh, Andy Reid got him. Pete Carroll got him. Like, to your point, it's the reason the same guys win every year.
It's the reason.
Okay, so let me ask you about this. It's about the 4th story on Russell Wilson that gets out today. It's pretty obvious he's unhappy. And I made this argument. We celebrate a UFC boxing legend or star having an ego. He needs to. The shield.
The machismo.
We celebrate home run hitters. Reggie, Sammy Sosa, Ramirez. It's almost adorable. We celebrate NBA stars. Russell Westbrook. My best friend's the ball. Kind of makes him more likable, right? Jordan just whacks everybody, 10-part documentary. We're like, I love Michael. He crushes everybody. But if an NFL quarterback's got a little ego and don't want to fit in a box.
It's toxic.
Russell Wilson, like, all he wants is a say. I mean, do you ever play with quarterbacks have a...
Oh, I played with quarterbacks. I mean, I played with Jeff George.
Oh, he had an ego?
He had an ego. You know, I play with quarterbacks, and you're supposed to be the father figure, the leader, the calming force. You're supposed to be the one that's different from everyone when you have the quarterback's position as your position. You are the anointed leader of the team.
I get it.
Does that make it right or wrong? You know, people made fun of Jim McMahon for being too animated and kind of like a Looney Tune in terms of the type of guy that he was personality-wise.
He fit that roster.
But we loved him.
Well, and he fit that roster.
We loved him. We loved him. There shouldn't be anything wrong with that. I mean, you see Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. I mean, and he's always been a fiery dude. You see him go head-to-head, not just with a player.
Honey Badger.
He goes ahead with Honey Badger don't care, right? He goes head-to-head with Honey Badger. And we love it. I just think it's selective. We're selective of when we have moments in time where we don't want to see a quarterback conduct himself or say things a certain type of way. You're seeing it with Deshaun Watson and the fallout. Deshaun hasn't really said anything at all.
Aaron Rodgers. We got to draft Jordan
with
Love.
Aaron Rodgers.
Everybody's trying to box in these stars quarterbacks, and I'm like, there's a difference between confidence and immaturity. Baker was immature. Johnny Manziel was immature. Jameis was a little immature.
Okay.
I'm okay with Russell Wilson, who's married to the most beautiful person on the planet, feeling good about himself.
Well, maybe second.
I mean, again, you get a little. Yeah. I'm going to give you a little.
He's earned the right to have a voice, and he's earned the right where that voice shouldn't have to hit media for it to be heard.
Thank you. You worked hard today. You did a how long was that show before us?
I think 2.5.
No script.
No script.
There's a lot of
people think that this is easy what we do.
It is ditch digging. This is outside of literally grabbing a shovel, it's America's hardest job.
You know, people will sit there and shun what you just said.
I know.
But they do not realize how hard it is for you and Joy to do what it is that you guys do at the level you do it every single day.
There are days Joy and I walk out of here with a piano on our back.
Indeed.
The whole network we're carrying.